All right, to the telephones. Folks, we have a very, very special guest here today, and I'm going to welcome to the Crusade channel for the first time Mr. Michael, that's Eugene Michael, but E. Michael Jones, who is the editor-in-chief of Culture Wars magazine and too many other accolades that I could heap upon him. If I may, Michael, how are you?
Good, Mike. Good to be here.
I can't tell you how many people have told me, and they've told me during phone calls to this show, have you considered getting E. Michael Jones on your show? I said, yeah.
Well, I'm honored to be here.
Well, we're honored to have you. As a matter of fact, I asked my friend Steve Cunningham, who I think you know. His brother Mike is in seminary in Nebraska right now. And I asked Steve, I said, Steve, we finally got Michael on today, Michael Jones on. What should I ask him? I won't read you what he told me.
Okay.
But I did go and look up the book on the current morality, that your latest work on morality. And I guess that there is a section in there where the book is about trying to welcome or attract our Jewish friends back to the faith, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about the end point of a long intellectual development. I was born in 1948, was a baby boomer, and at a certain point I woke up and realized I was a guinea pig in a social experiment that no one told us about, and that everything we were told was distorted, if not flat out wrong. And so I started trying to figure out my own history. The beginning of this was basically when I got a PhD in American literature in 1979 from Temple University. I took a job, tenure-track position at St. Mary's College out here in Indiana, and I got fired 1 year later from a Catholic college for being against abortion. And I kept trying to tell people, against abortion. I got fired because I was against abortion at a Catholic college. And what happened there was that the feminists had taken over the college, and basically the whole thing had been subverted. And so I spent, as I said, a lot of time trying to rethink this whole history of what happened. And lately, my take on it is that basically my life coincided with the period of covert warfare. That's my life. 1953, C.D. Jackson entered the White House with Dwight Eisenhower. C.D. Jackson was a CIA agent.
Right.
And basically, the next thing we know, the Mossadegh gets toppled in Iran, and the Shah gets put on his place, and now they're off to the races. The CIA is off to the races with their program of covert warfare. Catholics were one of the main victims of this covert warfare operation in a lot of different ways. But a book I wrote called The Slaughter of Cities talked about basically the destruction of Catholic neighborhoods, ethnic neighborhoods throughout the United States as a form of, it was called urban renewal, but it was really ethnic cleansing.
I was getting ready to say, ethnic cleansing is more like it, right?
It was. That's exactly what it was. Basically, the Catholics who thought of themselves as Polish or Italian or Irish when they lived in places like Chicago were suddenly told they were middle class and it was time to move to the suburbs. And if they didn't get the message, the black folk were brought up from the South to basically convince them it was a good time to leave. And that whole story needs to be told now because it's been misrepresented as white flight. That's not what it was.
I had to tell you that I had not read Culture Wars magazine because I didn't know it was out there until today. And the first article that I didn't get a chance to read at all because it's very lengthy, but very good, is a review of Miss Campbell's Most Miserable Morality, which is a book out called The Most Controversial Decision, Truman, the Atom Bomb, and the Defeat of Japan. It's written by your colleague, David A. Wimhoff. And I'm reading this going, where's this been my entire career here? This is the just war stuff that I always try and talk about. And it's so difficult, Michael, to find material and people that will talk about just war. We don't have any. uh, but point the finger at unjust war, and even have the courage, which Patrick J. Buchanan has had at some times, to point the finger back at some of the things that happened at the end of World War II. And this review of this book is just one of them. And actually, I excerpted 2 paragraphs from the review today as our daily Veritas et Sapientia, our daily truth and wisdom, because of what Mr. Wim Hof had written about the subjugation of the Japanese people as being the goal of the end of the war, that it never was about just an armistice. It was always about changing the way those people thought, changing the way those people acted. If they had to suffer fire by an atom bomb, so be it. But people are unwilling to write about these things. And I hear you just now talking about the ethnic cleansing that went down in the 1960s and the 1970s of all those neighborhoods. That's something else no one is willing to actually write about or talk about.
No. The Catholic mind in the United States was crippled by the anti-communist crusade. It was the worst thing that ever happened to American Catholics. They lost their identity. They began to identify with the regime in a way that Catholics in the 1930s did not do. They didn't do it then, but they did after the war, and it's been a disaster for the United States. Dave Wemhoff's book just came out, John Courtney Murray, the CIA, the American Proposition, how the CIA changed the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church had been targeted by a form of psychological warfare. The CIA called it doctrinal warfare, and the culmination of this was the Second Vatican Council and Dignitatis Humanae, which did reaffirm the tradition. Okay, I'm not arguing that the documents of the Second Vatican Council are heretical. That's not my point. My point is that by the time they got passed, we're talking about 1965, the American mind was totally controlled by the American propaganda ministry, namely Time Magazine. And Time Magazine told you how to think, what the categories were, and that, so it didn't matter what the document said at this point. This has been a long history of basically the Catholic Church being the victim of covert warfare at the same time that the official narrative is that we're fighting shoulder to shoulder against communism. All you have to do is look at what happened to the Catholic neighborhoods to know that that narrative was not true.
So when I to give a cultural marker or signpost, if you will, or street sign, if we look at the careers of actors, 2 Catholics, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Ben Affleck made a movie called Seatown or Charlestown, I think it was the name of it, about 8-10 years ago. And he played a Catholic kid that grew up in Charleston, which is across the Mystic River from Boston, right?
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck played, he was a raised Catholic. His mother's, of course, his mother is divorced. The dad is a drunk. The brother is a lout. He's going to go to prison. His friends are all louts, but they're all Catholics. And their idea to get out of Seatown, to leave the neighborhood because it's so horrid and it's so bad, is to go knock off a bank, and then they wind up at Fenway Park and a big shootout at the end and all that. That would have been a horror story to 1930s Catholics, is what you're telling me, right?
Yeah. But I mean, look what happened to Southie during the 1970s. Look at that story. Has anyone really told that story? I mean, Ben Affleck has gone. What is Ben Affleck going on to do? He did Argo. Argo was straight up, pure, 100% propaganda film against Iran. So what happened to Southie? Here's Ben Affleck, the loyal American, and Southie was destroyed by busing. Okay? Busing only applied to Southie. The Judge Garrity, passed a bill that says we need racial integration, and apparently all of those segregated schools where they're all white in the suburbs of Boston weren't affected. The only place that was affected was Southie. Well, I'm sorry, but the real explanation is ethnic cleansing. They didn't like these people. They were retrograde. They were too Irish. They were too ethnic, and so they were targeted for ethnic cleansing. That's the story. And Ben Affleck is a kind of tragic figure in this regard because these Catholics are always identifying, they're always internalizing the commands of their oppressors. It's time for Catholics to wake up. I mean, look at the relationship between the Catholics and the Republican Party for the past 30 years. All of those Catholics switched to the allegiance from the Democratic Party in 1980. They all voted for Ronald Reagan because of abortion. And what's the first thing that Ronald Reagan does? He attacks the air traffic controllers. Well, these Catholics were all union members. And here's Reagan attacking the unions, and they do nothing about abortion. For 35 years now, they've done nothing about abortion. Nothing. And all they've done is pursue their miserable wars in the Middle East and drive us farther and farther into debt.
844-527-8723 is our telephone number. The editor-in-chief of the magazine Culture Wars, E. Michael Jones, on the Dude Maker hotline with us. I'd like to read something to you from Matthew Sheffield, who is the president of Dialogue Media, a marketing and technology firm, Michael. This is in yesterday's American Conservative magazine. See how this sits with you. As bad as things are now for Republicans with regard to secular voters, however, they seem to be worsening. A 2012 study by the Pew Research Center found that the Democratic share of the non-vote, that's no affiliation to a religion, has increased significantly since 2000 when it stood at 61%. In 2004, it rose to 67%. 2008, an incredible 75%. As it stands, people with no faith tradition have shifted a full 9 points toward Democrats, unless action is taken. And this must include a concession that Americans support same-sex marriage. As the non-Christian portion of the country continues to grow, the prospects for the conservative movement are going to attenuate as the godless gap widens. In 2016 and beyond, Christian conservatives face a choice. They can embrace identity politics and become a small group of frustrated Christian nationalists who grow ever more resentful toward their fellow Americans, or they can embrace reality. Following people like Russell Moore and American Conservative Magazine's Rod Dreher, who want Christians to put their own affairs in order and then render unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's. If I let you run with that, could you run with that for a couple of minutes?
That's ridiculous. That's completely ridiculous. This is why conservatism isn't worth the paper that it's written on. Who cares what conservatives think? Who cares? Secondly, who cares what Rod Dreher thinks? Rod Dreher is a political opportunist. He's a chameleon. He was an evangelical, then he was a Catholic, now he's Orthodox or something like that.
Michael, can I ask you to hold? Can you give me another segment? Are you able to hold for a minute?
Sure.
Please, hold on. Folks, you're not going to want to miss the conclusion of this. E. Michael Jones here on Crusade. Back to E. Michael Jones here on the Dude Maker hotline. Our telephone number, 844-5-CRUSADE. Okay, so Michael, we ended up the last segment with the quote that I read from Matthew Sheffield. And you were about to say about who cares about Rod Dreher and who cares about what conservatives think about 2016 and about the conservative movement and the Republican Party. So I wanted to let you run with that, and let's hear the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, about the Republican Party. The Republican Party is totally in the pocket of the Israel lobby. Do you think that has an effect on voters? Do you think that something like the Sheldon Adelson primary has an effect on voters? Do you think that, or am I just imagining that? Secondly, what is gay marriage? Gay marriage, we had this experience in Indiana a year ago. The legislature of the state of Indiana passed something called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. At that point, the oligarchs and their media lackeys went berserk. Okay? Indiana became public enemy number one. There was this huge public relations campaign to overturn the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And basically, the government caved in. Well, what was going on here? We had a CEO from San Francisco fly into Indianapolis and rewrite the law for us. Well, wait a minute. The guy doesn't live in Indiana. He's got nothing to do with Indiana. Why is he now in charge of our government here in Indiana? The simple answer is the gay marriage and the whole homosexual movement is basically a revolutionary movement, a revolutionary avant-garde that allows the oligarchs, the CEOs, the 1%, to overturn representative government and put their people and their policies in place. That's the whole thing about the homosexual movement. It's the beginning, middle, and end of the whole thing. And that's what's going on here. If this guy thinks that somehow we have to go along with this, well, he deserves to be a conservative.
So we posit then that, or we conclude that the term conservative is not the golden chalice that we are told that it is.
No, it's over. It's over. Wait a minute. It's not 1980, 81 or 80 anymore. It's not 1984 anymore. We heard all those empty promises. It's not 1989 anymore. It's 2016. Okay? Conservatism blew up, in my humble opinion, in 1992 when the elites that run the Republican Party turned against Pat Buchanan. They confirmed that in 1996 when they nominated Bob Dole. If there were ever a loser, it was Bob Dole. Okay? Why was he nominated? To win the election? No, he was nominated to destroy the Pat Buchanan wing of the Republican Party.
Right. Now, I have had Patrick J. Buchanan on the show many times. He keeps himself quite busy writing these days, and he's more inclined to turn me down today than he is to accept. But last time he was on the show, I got a chance to ask him. We talked a little Catholic theology, and I brought up Fulton Sheen, and Pat revealed to me something that I hadn't seen him write. That I had not seen him write about. He said, "Well, you know, Mike, I have remained a Tridentine Mass, a Latin Mass Catholic." He said, "I never went to the new Mass. I never went to Novus Ordo, and I remain in the mold or of the mindset that, when I was growing up, when I was a kid growing up, we had really good, solid Catholic leaders that they were influential. I was influenced by them." And he cited Fulton Sheen. I can't remember. He cited another one or two, but he cited Archbishop Fulton Sheen. Michael, who do young Catholics turn to today for that kind of role model? Where do we find them at?
You're talking to him right here.
You?
In all humility, I have to say that I know Pat Buchanan. He subscribes to Culture Wars. I've reviewed his book. Pat was in many ways a hero of mine. Pat is a throwback, to the only conservatism that makes any sense in America, and that is Midwest America first, isolationism that chooses the republic over the empire. That's the only conservatism that's worth talking about.
I'm in. I'm 100% in.
And that's what Pat brought back in 92, and the Republican Party turned on him because they want the empire. Well, I don't want the empire. I live in the Midwest, and you drive around these streets, and you look at the factories shut down and the empty houses, and you realize we are a conquered nation. We are a conquered people, the Midwest. We lost the war when Pearl Harbor happened, when America First was destroyed, and that was the end of it. So we haven't, and since that time, we've had to identify with something called conservatism, which is a contradiction in terms. I just did an interview with Phyllis Schlafly. She's 92 years old, a lady I admire, the lady who destroyed the Equal Rights Amendment.
She sure did, didn't she?
She did. She's one of the greatest.
The Eagle Forum.
The Eagle Forum is one of the greatest grassroots organizing efforts in the history of the 20th century in the United States. And yet, Phyllis drank the Kool-Aid. She's a conservative. She was 17 years old, living in St. Louis. She's when Lindbergh gave his famous speech, the high point of America First, resistance against the Roosevelt administration and the empire, and that was the end of it. She became a conservative, and as a result, she was always working against her own self-interest. The anti-communist crusade turned all of America First into internationalists, And I think Pat Buchanan is also part of this problem. He's got problems himself, much as I love Pat Buchanan. Okay? But I'm trying to get to the heart of the matter of this thing, and it was the anti-communist crusade, basically, that turned all of these isolationists into servants of the empire. Phyllis can say, I supported Bob Taft, and God bless you for supporting Bob Taft, but the story was over and it ended with Pearl Harbor, and we haven't come back since.
E. Michael Jones is the editor-in-chief of Culture Wars magazine. 844-527-8723 is our telephone number. Okay, so I'm 54 years old. I am the founder here of the Crusade channel. One of our mottos is, what is your crusade? We operate under the banner of the Veritas Radio Network. Veritas, of course, meaning truth. We also try to present radio the way it should be. And to me, that means, Michael, that if Fulton Sheen were to turn a radio on in 1962, the year of my birth, he would hear this. He wouldn't hear internationalism. He would hear a really good sense of humor. We're Catholics. We're supposed to be happy. We're Christians. We're supposed to be happy. We're not supposed to be miserable. We're not supposed to be Pharisees. Remember, Christ conquered the Pharisees. So we're supposed to be happy, but we're supposed to be clean as well. And we're supposed to be aspiring for the eternal thing. So,
we're supposed to be wise as serpents, too.
That's right. Give a brother
not stupid.
Well, give a little brother a little advice here. What should our crusade here be? How do we take it back? Help me out. Talk to me.
Well, I think that we have to stop looking upon this as if we're doing something all by ourselves. This is God's work. God is consciousness. God is logos. St. John said that. And the more you spread logos, the more you raise the consciousness, the more you're doing God's work. And so what we're seeing here, I think now, is a consciousness of something like covert warfare, for example. Robert Kennedy Jr. just wrote a brilliant article in Politico about basically covert warfare and the effect that the CIA had, and this distorting effect it had on the American experience. It was a powerful piece, and he's certainly connected with the political establishment, or what was an establishment that tried to go against the CIA hegemony. This is all we have at this point. We've got consciousness, but God is consciousness, and that's what we're seeing spreading throughout the world. I mean, I can go to places like Iran. I can talk to those people. I got a letter from a lady, an Iranian Muslim, yesterday. She said, "Thank you for explaining how sexual liberation is a form of political control." That's the book I wrote 20 years ago, Libido Dominandi. That word is spreading. That's what we're here to do. We're here to spread the word, but that's the beginning of all change. Change in consciousness is the beginning of all change, and that's what we're here to do right now.
844-527-8723 is our telephone number. So one of the things that I direct people to and tell them is that if you elevate, I say that there are three forms or three areas in which our human souls, human body and the human soul operate. There is the public life, there's the private life, and there's the spiritual life. And I say that if you want to change this paradigm here, then you have to reverse what it is that this culture does to us and has done to us and is doing to our children and is going to do to our children unless we change it. And that is at the top of the thought process and at the top of the list of everything that we do. Our first conformity of the mind must be that the spiritual life informs and then guides and is always superior to the public life and the private life. So if I look to eternity and I go, that's not going to help me in eternity, I shouldn't do that. That's what I mean by that. Am I on the right track?
Sure. I think that I just had an article appear in a big daily in Iran, and I said we need a new model. We've been working on this model of the Jewish revolutionary spirit. I wrote a book on that too, where we have to overthrow the order as it exists, and we always end up playing into the hands of our enemies. I said we need a new model. The new model would be the Magi. The Magi. Remember the Magi?
I do.
I said this to the Iranians because they were Persians. The three Magi. What did they do? First of all, They followed the star. They were astronomers. They looked at the heavens and they saw an order, a logos to the heavens, and they conformed their lives to that order. That's the first thing we have to do. We have to conform our lives to God's plan. Second thing, they had the courage to follow that star. So they could will. They had the will. They had the intellect first, and then the will followed the intellect, and they followed the star. And the star led them to the Logos in the sky, led them to the Logos incarnate. And the third thing, why do we emulate them? Because they went to Herod, and they didn't follow Herod's instructions.
They fought the serpent, right?
They were wise as serpents. They went home by a different way. That's what it says in the scripture. In other words, they knew that Herod wanted to implicate them in his plan for murder, the murder of the innocents, and they said, we don't want to have any part of that. We're smarter than he is. We're going home by a different way. That's the model I'm proposing here.
And of course, on January the 2nd, in the church, we recognize the day. It's the recognition, the commemoration of the murder of the holy innocents.
Right.
And that's the day that Herod went into Bethlehem and killed every firstborn or every male child born within the time frame that the Magi could have been going to see.
That's right. And how many Catholics have been involved in the murder of the innocents in my lifetime?
Too many?
Too many, whether it's the Catholics who went along with the whole abortion thing or whether it's the Catholics who went along with the whole anti-communist crusade and ended up killing people all over the world. All over the world.
Well, one of the things that I like to talk about here on the program as well, Michael. By the way, E. Michael Jones, my special guest here on the Dude Maker Hotline here on the Crusade channel at www.veritasradionetwork.com. You can download our app in the iTunes Store and in the Android Google Play Store. Get it today, and it has so many features. I couldn't tell all of them to you right now, but it's a great way to listen to the show, to call the show, and much, much more. I like to tell people and do monologues and talk to our listeners and write about this, Michael. You call yourself pro-life, but yet you support the American bombing and killing machine. How can we be pro-life when we know that we have a government that uses our imprimatur? They say they represent the people of the United States. It's me and you, whether we like it or not. They go into third world countries that most Americans cannot find on a map, and they use drones and FA-22s and every other incendiary, hell-forsaken device that you can imagine. And they drop ordnance and they blow entire villages to kingdom come and acknowledge that there's what they call collateral damage, which means women and children are killed in the pursuit of allegedly taking out some terrorism mastermind. And most Americans are perfectly comfortable with that. When Ted Cruz threatens to turn the 9,000-year-old state of Iran into a sheet of glass to see if it glows in the dark, when he threatens to carpet bomb entire villages, regardless of who they may be filled with, when we're told that we got to stop being politically correct and expand the rules of engagement, which are already lethal and cause war crimes to be committed, I say to people, what are you smoking? What are you thinking? You're condoning the killing, the murder, the slaughter of innocents. These people are non-combatants. Have you ever read anything about Just Warther? You know what I get? You're just an America hater. You're a passive. And I don't just get this from your average run-of-the-mill Protestant Christian, and I don't mean any disrespect by that. I get this from fellow Catholics who tell me, we got to go over there and kill them before they kill us. I said, we got to go over there and kill their women and children before they kill us? And you're pro-life? Where am I wrong?
No, you're right, brother. You hit the nail on the head. This is the incoherence that has crept into Catholic life over the period of the rise of the American Empire, largely then as a result of the anti-communist crusade. The anti-communist crusade is the magic formula that turned Catholics against themselves and ended up in the situation that we're in right now. Where are the communists? Where are the communists? They're gone. And yet we're on the verge of nuclear war with Russia, even though the communists are gone and Russia is a Christian country. Does
Yeah.
this make sense?
Yeah.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but Vladimir Putin, he was once in the KGB.
Yeah, well, George Bush was once in the CIA. As a matter of fact, he was head of the CIA.
He is E. Michael Jones. I love this man. I'm so glad we got you on. Are you up for taking a few calls?
Sure.
Okay, let us start with Bill in Pittsburgh. Bill, you're on with E. Michael Jones on the Crusade Channel. How you doing?
Good, Mike. Good. I wanted to thank you. I was one of those folks that probably sent you an email requesting that you get Dr. Jones on. Good morning, Dr. Jones.
Good morning.
I just wanted to say thank you and comment that you could probably have Dr. Jones on a regular, at least monthly.
I think I will.
A day, or for an hour a day, at least once a month, and you wouldn't cover half the topics that he's gone over. And I appreciate the fact that he looks at the landscape of Catholicism from way back. I mean, he get the Jewish Revolutionary Spirit. It's a huge book. It's quite informative, along with his other books. But it gives the reader an idea and brings into focus all the things that you're scratching your head over now. Like, why is it like this? And with laser focus, and it's a wonderful thing. I'm glad he's on there. I had another comment. I wanted to ask if you talk about physical destruction. Have you read or heard anything about a gentleman? I think his name is John Perkins. There's a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman, and
Yes,
I think he was part of the CIA. And
yeah, I read the book. It's a great book because it tells the inside story of organizations like the IMF and the World Bank.
Right.
And this is to give you another. I mean, I told this story in Barren Metal, another big book, 1,400 pages long. It's a history of capitalism as the conflict between labor and usury. The whole economy right now is loaded down, overburdened with debt, with usury. The economy is being strangled by the Wall Street banksters who got bailed out to the tune of $4 trillion, okay? And we're all being stuck with paying off their bad debts. It's a horrible situation, and Occupy Wall Street was a symptom of it. The 20-year-olds, the millennials there, all burdened down with student debt. None of them can get decent jobs. They all get unpaid internships. This is the story that should be the biggest topic in the election. This is the real issue that's driving this country. Michael Hudson, an economist I respect, just did a book called Killing the Host, pointing it out in exactly these terms.
Yeah. Well, once again, Mike, thanks so much for having Dr. Jones on. It's great to listen to him. It's very informative, and this has just been a wonderful hour of radio for me anyway.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Nicholas in Texas next on with E. Michael Jones here on the Veritas Radio Network and the Crusade Channel at veritasradionetwork.com. Download our app from the iTunes Store and the Google Play Store today. Hello, Nicholas. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you, Mike?
I'm well, thank you.
Is this Mike and Mike in the morning?
Mike, well, he's Michael. I'm Mike.
I thought I was calling ESPN's Mike and Mike in the morning.
What's your question for Dr. Jones?
Well, congratulations for having him on. Dr. Jones, we've emailed back and forth a couple of times regarding the consecration of Russia, but hey, I love what you're saying today. I'm glad that you're exposing the false friends on the right. Are you familiar with the Council on National Policy?
No, tell me about it.
Well, Phyllis Schlafly, the late Howard Phillips, all of these people, all of these quote-unquote conservatives are members of it. You could consider it the counterpart of the CFR. I'll email you some info on that, but I'm running for Congress down here in West Texas, the 11th District. And I'm going to try to take to the public airwaves the issues that you've talked about regarding Talmudic Judaism, usury, economic freedom, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, good. These are the real issues. God bless you. Good luck on your campaign.
Well, thank you, sir. And I wanted to ask, are either of y'all familiar with the book, The Soul of the Apostolate?
Sure.
Mr. KD, I'll distinguish the two mics. King Dude, you might want to. I'll email you information about that book. It's something that the founders store might want to carry.
Oh, the Soul of the Apostle. And I'm familiar with it. It was Blessed Saint Pope Pius X's favorite book. I actually
right. Yeah, he says
I've got.
I warmly recommend this book as I value it very highly and have myself made it my bedside book. So.
Well, Nicholas, thank you very much for the call. Dr. Jones, a follow-up question on communism. Can we distinguish between the fact that the Soviet Union communists are dead and gone, or that is gone, but communism is certainly not gone, is it?
Over. It collapsed completely. It is certainly no longer a force in world politics. This was an era that is gone. It's over. There are places, I'm sure Cuba, they still consider themselves communist. The Chicago boys, Milton Friedman, have done their best to bring communism back in Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
Evo Morales, Hugo Chavez, all these people consider themselves communists, thanks to Milton Friedman. But as a force in history, I think it's over. It's just over.
Now, let me ask you. Now, you said you interviewed Phyllis Schlafly, and
yes.
She's 92 years old. Does she still fancy herself a conservative?
Absolutely.
Okay.
She's in many ways a brilliant lady. The book she wrote, A Choice Not an Echo, nails the Republican Party. She says it's a battle between the grassroots people and the kingmaker. She's absolutely right. It's the oligarchs versus the people. The Republican Party is a machine that takes oligarch money and turns it into grassroots votes.
Yes.
That's what it does, and it will always then betray the people and go with the oligarchs. That's always what they do, and she understood that. The big mystery in my life, in my understanding, is why did she go along with it? I mean, I have the same question about Pat Buchanan. Like, why did you go along with this for so long? I mean, I say this in the article. I hope she takes it the right way, but I think Phyllis Schlafly is the abused wife of the Republican Party.
Wow.
I mean, Phyllis stayed home and did the dishes, you know. She got the vote out, and then the Republican nominee swaggers home after midnight, drunk, having slept with whores. Okay, he beats her up, and then in the morning he says he's sorry. And then Phyllis forgives him, and then she tells the ladies to vote Republican. This has happened repeatedly to Phyllis over her career. I hope she takes this in the right way, but I'm trying to say here is that the Republican Party abused Phyllis Schlafly, and they abused all of those ladies. So we're in the middle of the interview. I'm in her house, and her successor as head of the Eagle Forum stands up and announces that Ashton Carter has lifted all restrictions on women in combat.
Right.
I'm in Phyllis Schlafly's living room, and this is the announcement. Well, the whole Equal Rights Amendment, her challenge, the reason she defeated it was to say, if you pass the Equal Rights Amendment, you're going to have women in combat.
That's exactly
well,
right.
That's exactly. I said, Phyllis, that's exactly what you got now. How do you explain this? The other thing she used to say was, if you pass the Equal Rights Amendment, homosexuals would be allowed to get married. Well, what we have here is exactly. So what is the point of this great grassroots crusade? She beat them fair and square, and yet they changed the rules of the game on her.
So, final question for you, Michael Jones, because I have another guest to get on. What are we to do about this, politically speaking? My crusade is to wean people off of you got to go out and vote. If you don't vote, you're an idiot, and that all of our current affairs must be tied up in the democratic process. That is certainly not the 1776 intent. I don't believe it would have been the intent if we were to go back to pre-revolution England, even before there was a Protestant revolution. Say we would have had a bunch of Christians / Catholics who would have left England, going, we don't like you, Richard III or whatever. We're going to go to America. We're going to go settle our own colony. Why don't you give us a charter if they had come over here? I don't believe that that government before the Age of Enlightenment and the quote Reformation close quote ever was as menacing and diabolical as it was. A king would be incapable of doing what this government is to do. So, I mean, my counsel is, and I'd like to get your advice on my counsel. My counsel is that you got to wash your brain of this. You can't think of everything in terms of how you're going to vote. What you should think of it in terms of is, why is this stuff being voted on to begin with? I already know what the truth is. I know what the usury is. I know what the magisterial law says. I know I'm supposed to conduct myself. We have 10 commandments. It's not as though this is a mystery. Why do I have to have a political class above all this? Give me some counsel.
You're right. The first change has to be change in consciousness. That's what you're doing. Okay? Then, look, I'm not a political organizer. Phyllis Schlafly is a genius when it comes to political organization, but she's got the wrong ideas in her head. She still thinks she's a conservative. So I think what we have to do is raise consciousness until a new political leader arises who can capitalize and mobilize the consciousness that we're raising right now.
Well, we'll keep doing it here on the Crusade channel. You can get the Culture Wars magazine at culturewars.com, and that's where you'll also find that article that I was referencing earlier about Truman and his unjust wars. And of course, you could write an entire other book about Truman and his other activities, couldn't you?
There are lots of books out there waiting to be written.
Lots of books. All right. Well, I'm going to look into the Southie, I assume, when you were talking about this. This is a neighborhood in Boston, right?
Right.
I'm going to look into this. I might do a little piece on that. Michael, will you come back and visit with us again?
I'd be happy to. I'd be honored to.
Well, we'd love to have you. Thank you so much for your time, brother.
Thank you, Mike.
You're very welcome. Appreciate it. That's Dr. E. Michael Jones there from Culture Wars and culturewars.com.